Hello everyone, welcome to Mecha University's class on Aquila. We have here with us Happyness from Team ORCA and Renegade from Team MSR. If you guys want to go ahead and say hi really quickly. Happy?
Hi.
Beautiful.
I'm just here so my team doesn't get fined.
Great. That is exactly what we do here. We threaten them. And if they don't teach the lesson, they're not allowed to do anything. So, mission accomplished. Let's talk Aquila though. We will be kind of going through. First, we'll start with the basic kit, right? And we'll go through with that, and then we'll move into talking about advanced techniques for Aquila, how you manage the airborne kit, how you manage the energy for it, how you make use of your multi-lock, and then we'll start going into things like your positioning, how you deal with certain strikers, what strikers you synergize with, and then into to map specific strategies, your role during each, where you like to position, and then we'll kind of open it up to a bit of discussion between the two of you of like specific techniques that you use, how you think Aquila is fitting into the meta right now, and then start going through questions and answers. So if you guys have questions during this, if you want to start asking them, we will then bring them up at the end of the class here, and we'll also be asking some during it if you have any. But let's go ahead and get into this match first to just show off some of the abilities. We'll start out in the combat matrix here. If we want to go ahead and get this started. Let's see. I'll make sure I'm on Lumi. So just while we're loading in here, Renegade, what are your thoughts on Aquila right now? In a broad sense.
In a broad sense,
Yeah.
it's overpowered as fuck.
I was gonna
It
say
honestly really does need a nerf.
we did see your little bit of a ranty post about Aquila being too strong in Discord earlier.
Yeah, I
Do
got
you,
bored at work, so I typed that out.
do you want to comment on that really quickly while we're loading in?
So, I mean, like Akila's main purpose right now is unfortunately, like people want to sit there and play it as a finisher. It's really not a finisher. I mean, yeah, you can use it to finish off targets if you want to play selfish, but the main things that you really want to do is fucking just disable the enemy fucking centerpiece, which is the Welkin, and then just constantly apply pressure by just shitting out damage to the enemy team with multi-lock as fast as humanly possible.
Yeah, it's pretty great. So why don't we start out with talking about the kit though? If you want to quickly review what the mobile beam cannon does, obviously as its two different firing modes, but if you want to quickly demonstrate that and talk about them and when you use
Okay,
each
sure.
one.
So the mobile bead cannon comes with two modes, scoped and unscoped. Unscoped is your bully weapon. You use it to fire against any light targets or flyers that are just trying to harass you. So you just sit there and you follow them around like this. You don't even really have to aim. You kind of just move around and hold left click and press it multiple times, and you can just lock on hit targets. It's mostly just so that way you can rapidly reposition yourself, and then also deal out like a minimal amount of damage to maybe cause them to back off a little bit. It also works very, very well for multi-lock for stopping ultra heavy comps trying to just body stack and collect payload points and whatnot. Because like if they all just body stack, you can just quick tap multi-lock like so,
So
and then you can
let's
tap them
just
like this.
let's just stay on like the basics of what it does for now. We'll talk about multi lock in a second here.
The second fire mode is scope mode. This is your main damage dealer. You use it to find the most vulnerable target, usually Lumine, and then you just constantly harass them over and over again.
And
And each of them has a lock-on timer of, I don't remember the exact seconds, but I think it's like 0.7.
I think you could see from that shot right there that it's pretty forgiving too, right? It's not like you
Yes.
have to be a CS:GO pro gamer to land those shots.
Oh no, Aquila's kit is very, very simple. It's super easy to use. Most of the skill from playing Aquila just comes from map awareness and being able to survive.
Yeah. So your next ability that you have here is the Pulse Claw, right? Why don't you talk a little bit about what that does, what the difference is between the different strikers, how it affects different weight classes?
Okay, so the claw is basically the most overpowered tool you have in your entire kit. Not only does it stun targets, but multiple targets who have very, very long cooldowns that are very powerful also get reset by it and getting the full cooldown rotation. So it affects different targets based on their weight class differently. For example, if I wanted to kill Charlotte, I would send this out to her and then bam, she's stuck there for like 2 whole seconds where I can get off of a left click unscope and then even get one with the scope in. And that's a bunch of free damage right there. Now, if I were to target somebody, say, like Welkin, where the hell are you? He only gets targeted for like half a second because he's big and fat. But the thing about it is that even if you miss, so get ready to dodge, Charlotte. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Go. When you dodge, it will reposition itself and then shoot in a straight line back at the target a total of 3 times. So even if you miss the first time, if you wait 2 seconds, they will more than likely get hit because they forgot about it.
Yeah. And just to comment on that quickly, it is technically possible to still dodge it. It is not very easy. It is very EN hungry if you want to spend the EN to dodge it. So for anyone who's like, if you notice someone that's gassed or getting gassed, it's pretty easy to make sure that claw hits. And it's especially good for finishing people off, or like you said, getting those squishy characters down. Obviously, you have 2 charges of it too. I don't know if you know the cooldown off the top of your head, but it's a
I
fairly
believe it's
short
like
cooldown.
15 or 20 seconds. And then also, if they do happen to dodge your full, like, 3 claws attempts, it returns to you and refunds like 75% of the cooldown. So it's not like it's a big deal if you miss.
Yeah, yeah. A little bit busted, to say the least, but you know, it seems like there's certain strikers that are a little busted this patch, and that's one of them, which is a-okay. All right, so that's the claw. The next ability you have here is the airborne kit. Do you want to talk about that briefly and what that does?
Oh, yeah, the Airborne Mobility Kit. This is your bread and butter. It is the best ability in the entire fucking game. What it does is not only does it allow you to hover, but it also makes you have the zoomies, and you can move around super fast. It gives you different types of dodges, and you can do some sick ass maneuvers in omnidirectional stuff. Like, for instance, once you have Mobility Kit up and running, you can slam on the ground, you can shift over, and then pop up. Oh, oops, I missed my. But you can pop up. You have the fastest uppy downy in the game thanks to Mobility Boost.
The
Yeah,
mobility kit gives you jump higher off from
Yes.
the ground when you have it active, is what he's saying.
yeah,
You could share that, by the way. Like the difference in jump height.
So that's with Mobility Booster, and this is just a regular jump.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
I
like
mean, it's
twice
almost
as high.
half. Yeah. So it's definitely significant to say the least, and it's a pretty large energy pool too, right? You don't burn through it that quickly.
Correct, and you
Uh,
can
if you're
variation
spamming
between
dashes, you
both of
do.
them.
Yeah,
If you spam shift, you will run out of energy no matter what striker you're playing. But if you manage your movement correctly, you should be able to maintain your energy for a long time. Because when your basic energy runs out, you can pop mobility kit and your regular energy bar starts to regain. So instead of just having two, it's more like you have three.
yeah. And I consider myself something of a Mashmac Aquila main. It's very good for Mashmac getting around because you can just cycle between the two and move around. Obviously, in a real match, you're going to burn it a lot faster, but that kind of is what it is there. All right, so that's the less bullshit part of the kit. Let's talk about the most bullshit part, multi-lock. In my, I think it's a
So
little bit
multi-lock,
broken.
otherwise known as the Lumi Slayer 9000, is the least overpowered thing in the entire game. Basically, you press 3, every single target that is within viewing distance of your reticle will be locked on instantly, and you can fire multiple shots at them all at the same time. So, for example, there's a Lumine and a Stellaris in front of me. Bam, I pop 3. As long as they remain in the reticule, I am locked onto both, and I can fire 2 shots at once to hit them all. And the best part about it is that you can also use it to solo multi-lock the vulnerable targets, such as Lumine. Because when you activate it, well, I'll have to wait for the cooldown to come back. When you activate it, it takes your lock-on recharge down from 0.7 seconds down to like 0.3, I believe. And you can just rapidly target the exact same person over and over again. So, for example, if I wanted to kill Charlotte, I could pop multi-lock the entire time. And even if she ran away, she's still pretty much dead. That's why it's called the Lumi Slayer 9000.
The only way Lumine can avoid is if they hide behind terrain. It does enough damage that even if they're healing themselves, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they just die.
Yeah.
Also, it regens your ammo at like way faster. If you run out of ammo, it's like the only way to get it back.
Oh, and you can also reset its cooldown. So if you want to just quickly snipe somebody who's at 1 HP and trying to run away, you pop it, it can instant lock on, turn it back off. It's back in about 3 seconds.
Yeah. So definitely a lot to this kit that is extremely powerful. Something you didn't quite fully mention there too is obviously the damage from Aquila is split damage, right? Of some direct, some to fluids.
Oh, correct. So it's energy-based damage, and like all energy-based damage, half of it goes to the fluid armor, half of it goes directly to the HP.
Yeah. So
you're probably not frequently going to kill someone through their shield unless they're neglected by their healer and at 1 HP.
Correct.
But for most targets, you're going to destroy their energy shield first. So it's still worth it to focus on people that don't have a shield so you do the most damage.
Yeah. So why don't we start talking like advanced things here? We talked a little bit about the Airborne kit and a little bit about multi-lock, but I know Aquila has a couple of little strategies and synergies. If there's anything specific you want to bring up here.
Well, thanks to the new meta, Welkin is now king of the game, and the only hard counter to Welkin currently is Aquila. And the reason behind that is because while Welkin has his shield active, MDV if you would, you can directly once you break box, you can directly charge behind him, and if you manage to claw him while his shield is up, it puts it on its full 24-second cooldown. Which means the moment you land it, you ping him and you scream, "Please fucking kill Welkin." And he can't do anything.
Yeah, so to kind of comment on that, right? Welkin right now, his new energy shield is incredibly powerful. It gives him a ton of survivability, and if he ends it early, has a really short cooldown. So being able to put it on a full cooldown is extremely important, and really helpful in dealing with this Welkin meta that is developing. As far as the multi-lock kit goes, you kind of mentioned about ending it early here. Is there any other kind of tech with the multi-lock kit that you use?
I mean, there is one. I don't particularly use it because I think it's cringe, but it's called the multi-lock multi-shot. I'm pretty sure it's a bug. CSUN hasn't really commented on it, but when you have multi-lock activated and you quickly shoot through multi-lock, so I believe you shoot multi-lock and right-click like that, and then you scope in real quick. If you time it correctly, you will get 2 scope shots off of the exact same lock-on, which means you do double the amount of damage without having to like aim twice or keep your reticule on. I consider it a bug. I don't try and use it most of the time. But sometimes in games when it's like super high pass, I'm not paying attention. It just sometimes slips through, and you can't really control it unless you're actively trying to go for it.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, when it comes to a competitive scene, we want to keep with not abusing bugs. We want to keep with making sure we're doing things that are approved by the game. That said, CSUN has not made any commentary on this, and to my knowledge, they do know about it. So to my knowledge, it's not considered a bug at the moment. So while it might be very cheesy, I think it's an important thing that Aquilas know how to do this. And maybe don't abuse it in the ranked ladder, but there's definitely going to be situations, and there will be some rulings as well in the community side of things as far as official tournaments and competitions go. But definitely worth it to know. Happy, if you want to demonstrate it too while Renegade's watching me, you can kind of see the two go out.
I mean, it's a little hard to do perfectly.
The timing is very precise.
Yeah, it's something that you don't really. It's in the previous beta, you used to be able to do a different version of it, like whenever you wanted. But
yeah,
now, yeah,
there it goes.
Renegade kind of got it.
There it is.
It's something that usually just comes out whenever it happens. It's kind of hard to force.
Basically, you have to left click with your regular unscoped mouse button attack, and then rapidly hit right click to scope in, and try and click right as the frame locks on with multi-lock turned on. It counts it as having 2 inputs and makes you fire 2 shots instead of 1.
So let's start talking strikers here. And how you deal with those matchups. Obviously, we've talked a little bit about Welkin and dealing with the shield, but Aquila also is able to do a bit about the Welkin box too, right?
Yes.
So, MDB, if you could come over here on the pin, and you can show cracking the box as well, what that takes. Yeah.
So a fully charged Welkin shot, even without multi-lock, can break Welkin box with literally just 3 shots, mostly 2.5. You'll usually break it earlier because you also have teammates shooting at the same time. But the moment the box comes up and he's trying to go for a cap, it's always best to just pop multi-lock and just send it into it, because you can reset the cooldown and get the refund back. But you don't want to have him get a free box cap. So when you see Welkin boxes, your prio should be breaking the box.
Yeah, I mean, and showing it like that, when you have multi-lock up and there's multiple targets in that, you're going to break that box even faster, right? So,
correct.
And a lot of times what you'll see from Welkin players is they'll stack up with others inside that box. So it's very useful as long as you have the ammo as well, and you're not completely out of ammo when that's going up. So that's also something to keep mindful of. But obviously, multi-lock will refund a good amount of ammo pretty quickly. Now, the other one here is Stellaris, right? Renegade, you famously have had some crash outs over at Stellaris. Why don't you talk me through that matchup? What's so bad about it? And then we'll show Magical making your life miserable.
Okay, so Stellaris is cringe for one reason and one reason only. His daggers has 3 charges of them, and for 3.5 seconds, it locks you out of your most powerful ability in the game, which is your claw. And not only that, but he can stay on your ass the entire time, even through the entirety of both of your energy bars, with the use of double tether and assault boost. So for a total of, I believe the push is 1.5 seconds. For each tether. So that's 3 seconds for both tethers, and then 3.5 seconds of no claw for each daggers, which one charge will recharge before all 3 are spent. So it's more like you get hit with 4 for, I think that's 14 seconds plus 3. So 17 seconds of not being able to use what you're supposed to do on a 20-second reset timer. And during that time, while he's doing that to you, you will also probably be targeted by everybody on the enemy team. So the moment he goes on you, if you don't get peel or a heal, you will more than likely die within the next 5 to 10 seconds.
Yeah. Why don't we go into a match and show this here? Obviously, we timed out this one here, so we'll show that on another map too, and we'll start talking some map specific strategies. We have a couple questions while we're loading in to this next map here. One of the questions that we got, and this is slightly relevant to what we're talking about here. If you're up against a Stellaris and a Falcon, do you engage or do you take them away from the objective? So if a Stellaris and a Falcon are chasing you, Do you generally try to stay with the group, or do you kind of just say, all right, let me run away as far as possible and just keep them distracted? What are your thoughts
So
on
if
that?
it's specifically Stellaris and Falcon, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find your nearest Welkin or melee player, immediately stand next to them, and then the moment you feel like a Stellaris is about to tether or lock onto you because you hear the lock-on noise, you bind your request backup ability to the mouse wheel, and then you just scroll up on that thing. Because the only way to counter it currently is to get somebody to immediately turn on Stellaris, because when they go on you, they are immensely vulnerable and they die instantly. You will not be able to damage the Stellaris during this time. You only have to rely on your teammates.
Yeah.
I mean,
Happy,
it
any
depends on your
thoughts?
team. You have to have a melee to help counter the other melee. There's nobody else that can really help that much. And for Falcon, I mean, there's nothing that can like consistently kill a Falcon if they're focused on surviving and just harassing you. You can try to avoid them, and you can definitely get heals from your whatever healer you have to make sure that you can stay alive, because Falcon doesn't do that much damage. I mean, it's a light striker and you're a heavy. You have enough HP to kind of tank it as long as you can dodge the missiles.
Yeah, just for Falcons, run to your nearest ultra heavy. Tricera can eat the missiles
Yeah.
and haunt. Stego can smoke, get you regen your energy back, which is basically what is going to keep you alive versus Falcon. It's mostly getting the Stellaris off you that's going to be the problem.
Yeah, you can't do anything with Solaris. Renegade already explained how long you're down. He counters all your moves.
Yeah.
You just have to have somebody else, like, kind of peel for you.
Another question that we got while we're loading in here is about positioning, right? And we'll talk about it in map specific sense too. But how often are you playing up close and personal with your team versus how much are you kind of staying at like as long of range as possible? We'll meet at the top of this map, by the way, above A, if you guys can.
So it's going to really depend on what the enemy team is running. If they're running super melee heavy, you have to literally play on top of your team and play shotgun Aquila. If you don't, they're just going to get caught out, and then the moment you get caught by one melee, it just snowballs into a disaster, and then you just get dogpiled. And then I make posts on the forums about how bullshit it is.
You do have to stay at some of a distance, otherwise you won't get any good damage, because your unscoped fire does way less damage than your scoped fire. So there's not.
Yeah.
You're going to be doing nothing if you are too close to enemies. Like on point caps, like on Palm Bay, you can stay on the point if you need to be. You have enough HP to kind of deal with it. You can shoot some claws out or some little blast whenever. But if you want to get any damage, you have to be away from the team.
When I
At least
mean
far
that you
enough
have to
away.
play shotgun Aquila, I don't mean literally stand still like I'm doing now and just hovering around while taking pod shots.
Yeah.
More than likely, you will have mobility booster activated. You'll just be super close to the ground, like barely up like this. So you can boost around while aiming at the same time, and you can maintain this close of a distance to get the maximum effect from multi-lock. You don't have to be super far away. You can be almost like this close to get maximum reticle effect from multi-lock, like so.
Yeah.
Like your multi-lock reticle is huge.
The further away you are, the more people are also in your multi-lock, so that you can shoot.
So to go back on what we were talking
Positioning,
about before.
well, I want to say another thing about positioning. It also is dependent on what they're running, not just for like the melees that are going to harass you, but if you find an opportunity, like there's a Lumi that's caught out, it's worth it to get yourself in a position where you can just insta-kill them with the multi-lock.
Yeah, you dive
So
toward me.
Yeah, you do want to strafe your team every once in a while if you see a good opportunity or like a good angle to shoot from. Aquila's all about finding like proper angles, since you can just kind of make them. But
Yeah.
you want to make sure you have enough energy to get back to your team in case something bad happens. If you expend all your energy going for a kill and overextend, you'll die.
Yes.
All right. So to go back to what we were talking about before, what I want to do is just show off kind of that Stellaris and Aquila interaction here. So Renegade, pretend for example, I'm going to Cap A. You're shooting me. Magical, why don't you hop on Renegade right now and just show how painful this is if you want to start attacking him and going after him.
And during this time, I can't aim. I have to manual aim at the Lumi that's on point.
Yep. And then Big magical. Yep. So there he is.
And this doesn't really showcase it to the full effect because if Stellaris is going on you, you're also going to have probably the other enemy teams firing you at the same time. But you can see by my health bar, he's hit me with 2 daggers and 2 tethers. I have about 35% of my max HP remaining. It would take basically an enemy Aquila 2 shots to kill me, or a Sky Raider or 1 extra melee just 1 attack to kill me.
Yeah.
And
so,
those are basically free.
And that's free attacks. Yeah, there's nothing you can do about that. Your mobility kit does break lock on when you have it active. Whenever you dash, it breaks lock on, but it's not fast enough between dashes to break lock on to deal with Stellaris' insanely fast lock on time.
That is because Stellaris has a lock on time of 0.3 seconds, faster than any other melee in the game.
Yeah, so you can't break that lock on, and he's going to blind you and then just grapple to you, and those are free. You don't have anything you can do about that.
all right. So while we're on this map here, why don't we talk a little bit about map-specific strategies? I think on a map like here, Poseidon Armory and Crab Sinkhole, Aquila is pretty valuable for watching side points and such, and Happy definitely has been kind of relegated into that role a lot for our team. But Happy and Renegade, why don't you guys talk map strategy on a map like this, how you play around the different points, and
It kind of depends on what your team's doing, of course, like the strategy you're using. But one thing that you can do on Aquila is because of how good their range is, and the fact that it's kind of hard for most people to take a point from Aquila if they're guarding it on their own, you can sit on a side point, like be over here, and kind of watch it and make sure nobody sneaks in, but you'll also have a perfect sideline to A. So you can effectively sit here and stop 2 caps at once. You can do the same on Krob. It's pretty easy. You need to make sure nobody sneaks up behind you.
I also agree this is one of the best spots to hold B as well, because even if Stellaris tries to self-cap, like Magical, go hide behind the B pillar and try and cap. If you see that red reticle, even if he's standing right behind it, you can shoot through this right here to damage him and stop him from capping the point. So if he's standing right behind it trying to cap, boom, he stopped. And you can reveal him briefly. He'll keep trying. All you got to do is keep shooting right here, and it keeps stopping him.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
the reason why B is the best point for Aquila is this wonderful building right here. If any melee or any like Falcon or Sky Raider tries to bully you off of this point, this is your safe haven. You can literally just mobility booster around this thing, dodging every single missile, every single tag known to existence, and you can basically just sit there and harass anybody trying to cap it with multi-lock like this.
It is helpful. The fact that Aquila can guard 2 points at once, but it's not always the play. I know I've played with my team and done that strategy where I sit on a point and guard it myself, but it has not always worked. Sometimes you have to switch out with somebody else. Like, maybe if you have a stagger on your team, you can switch them out and they can guard the same point, or guard both points at the same time as well pretty easily. Well, if you are able to like go and do more than they are in the comp. Aquila can guard really easily, but it's kind of it sometimes is a waste to make the person who has the most mobility to sit on a point and defend.
You're also probably going to be the one who does the most damage on your team if your team comp is not built around other people like Inferno or very specific situations like Sky Raider. So you kind of just holding a point and defending in the point also puts your team at a disadvantage, like kill potential wise.
Yeah. If you have BNA, it's fine, mostly, because you can kind of hold them. But if you need to cap A, then you shouldn't be defending B.
Yeah,
You
I
can
think
get you can
especially
get shots off, but you don't have enough of an angle to like really deal with people you want to.
I think especially on this map, there's a lot of space here where you can even be outside and watch both A and B and have like full range here. You can see where I'm flying here. You know, obviously you can see into the B point, you can see into the A point, you can see a little bit into the C point. So, you know, I think this map especially is one of like a really great map for Aquila. And it gets a lot of use out of it. Obviously, you're also out in the open for Stellaris to come and ruin your life, but you're hopefully having your team be able to peel off of you and cover you there too.
There actually is one other spot that I only learned of recently. Happy, I don't know if you know about this one. If you come over here, this spot right here, not
Oh
only
yeah,
can
this
you
one.
cover A, you can cover B, and then if they are flying in the air and just like hovering, you can activate mobility boosters, zoom all the way up. You have perfect angle and multi-lock at everybody on
Yeah,
A
you
right
can
here.
kind of see every point from here. The main thing is that because of the way it's sorted, it's kind of hard to do unless you have a mobility kit. Then again, mobility kit, as long as you're not boosting, if you're just hovering in the air, you can keep it for a very, very long time.
And then when they try and dive you at this position because you're multi-locking the entirety point, you just slam your ass back down and you're back at guarding B.
Yeah, there's a lot of unique stuff that Aquila can do because of the mix of mobility and range.
Yeah, I think that's a lot for the strategy on this, and obviously Sinkhole is similar. Is there any last thoughts you guys have on this map before we transition over?
Don't go in the water. You'll die.
Yeah, yeah.
I agree with that sentiment. As a Lumi main, the dodging in water is awful.
It reduces your overall damage by 40% while you're in the water, and you move at the speed of a Welcome. Actually, no, Welcome moves faster than you, apparently.
Yeah. So, stay out of the water. It's where the sharks live, aka Stellaris and Welcome. But
Yeah, you'll get mod by melee in there. You don't want to be in there.
all right, why don't we back out here? I'm clicking to abort the mission, and we'll go into another map here and talk map strategy. So while we're switching over, we got a question from the renowned Zephyr, our resident Naru main. What is your general strategy for dealing with a Naru that's trying to snipe you out?
I ignore them. You can't do anything. You can take a shot at their drones or whatnot, but they'll just grapple away and go invis again. There's no point in chasing them down. You just want to displace them and warn your team where they are so that way they can reposition so they don't get shot at. Unless you have
Honestly,
a
yeah.
Falcon to reveal them, there's not really anything you can do. It's just not worth your time. You can better spend your time trying to claw the enemy while canoe shielding or multi-locking the Lumi so that way they have no heals.
Yeah, dumb Narus will sometimes just sit there and tank a lot of your shots, and they're not super hard to
Oh, if
kill
you
because
find out where
they're
the
super
real one
light.
is, yeah, if you find out where the
Yeah.
real one is and you shoot them and they don't move, fucking full send it into them. They die
Yeah,
in
just
four
lay into them.
shots.
They die so quickly. But then again, you also die in like 4 charge shots on a Naru. They do so much damage to you. So really all you can do is, because a Naru is always going to move instantly, you just have to shoot their clones and then just run away. Make sure you don't have, like, you're not in their sight line.
All right. Why don't we load in? I was going to load into Longman launch site. We'll load into one after, but I think it's also important to talk over the push the maps, push the cart maps, and kind of go through that as well. So why don't we load in here and get in. Obviously, Longman's a little bit different from Palm Bay Harbor, right? You have a lot more open area to work with on the back half of the game, rather kind of versus Palm Bay Harbor, where you have that enclosed spot that takes up the center of the map and the center of the match. So Aquila's a little harder, I think, to work in on Palm Bay. But what are you guys' thoughts as we load into it on this map?
This is actually my favorite map of all time.
Yeah.
I fucking love playing this map as Aquila. There's so many nooks and crannies. You can just shoot walls and still hit the fucking payload, or like there's glass ceilings that you can just drop through and flank the enemy Lumi and just instantly kill them in 4 seconds.
Yeah.
This first section inside kind of sucks because there's not much area for you to work with, and melees can just get to you instantly. I'm really not a fan of the starter section.
I can kind of agree with that, but I also really like this first portion because it's just a straight up all in the very beginning. So usually when it's like a 6v6 and I'm with a coordinated team,
Well, oh yeah.
Yeah, when these doors open, I instantly pop multi-lock and I'm firing strictly into their face the entire time. and that just puts out immense raw damage and pressure. I will usually get about 3 to 4 people at 0 fluid armor, like in the first 10 seconds of the match if they just stand there and take it, which means that my team can push in and just brawl and start winning the team fight. The
You
other
can easily lay it into them, but they can usually if they have a Welkin or a Sky Raider to put down energy like missiles or like a Hurricane, anything with defenses, it kind of messes with that.
Correct. Yeah. Anything that has like things that will block your energy shots are also going to prevent that from happening. But the other reason I like this point is because usually the enemy Welkin is going to play very, very close and very, very brawly right here, which means you don't have to go very far to stop him with your claw. So, for example, if Welkin was trying to hold that cat point the entire time and your team needs to go in, you can pop mobility boosters, pop up, zoom in real quick, claw him while his shield is up, and he's fucking useless for 24 seconds. And then your team collapses on him. The enemy Welkin is dead. It's a free win. That team fight's over, and you've single-handedly just won that point for your team.
Yeah, and I think it's important to highlight here the difference from Palm Bay. Of obviously, when Palm Bay starts, you have a little bit more room to work with. The teams get spread out a little more as well, and the distances that you're fighting at are a little bit further. And a lot of times, there's not as many enemies in the open area until the point comes up. Whereas, like here, you're right in on the action. There's a lot of situations and a lot of fights here that you'll have multiple people out in the open. And very easy to fire in on. So, even though it's very enclosed, I think Aquila is able to do a lot of damage here if it's not stopped by the various things that will stop your rifle.
And like I said, looking at the angles that you can see on my stream, there are a lot of openings and nooks and crannies you can use to your advantage to get quick flanks on enemy positions. Both the payloads go through this choke point right here and end up at point B. So you know exactly where the enemy team is going to be. They're going to be following their payload and coming through this point right here. As Aquila, you can easily go through around this part right here, get from behind, and then instantly pop multi-lock and just start wailing onto the enemy Lumi with basically 0 repercussions.
One thing about multi-locking the enemy Lumi is it's super effective if you do it solo, but if there's other people next to the Lumi, then the shots will hit them instead. Well, not them instead, but hit them as well as the Lumi, which takes extra time and can sometimes make it like deny you the kill.
That's why you usually don't want to sit there and just silently multi-lock the Lumi. You'll call out to your team, hey, I'm about to go in on Lumi, and then you'll say, I have Lumi. And the moment you do that, you can sit there and be like, oh, multi-locking Lumi, Lumi's pinged, and then it takes just one extra person with you to basically kill Lumi in 2 seconds.
This map, once you get to the outside portion, it's different than Palm Bay, because Palm Bay is kind of outside then inside then outside, but this is just inside and then a whole big stretch of outside with a actually massive skybox because of how high it goes up to the end. So Aquila can kind of just sit anywhere and has a sight line on the entire map always. The only thing that's a little annoying is all the bars in the way that can kind of break your lock on sometimes. It's not a massive deal, it just is a little frustrating, but it actually is pretty grand on this map.
Yeah, and I just want to talk about something Renegade brought up there about coordinating focus. This is something that's different from last patches, is really the way the claw was reworked, right? On previous patches, coordinating that stun and coordinating that damage was a lot more inconsistent, right? You had to land that claw, which was much more difficult before to really coordinate. So it became a little bit unreliable at times to coordinate that. And then I think now with the claw being changed, there's a lot more opportunity for that.
Yeah. One of the biggest issues, especially with how the claw was previously, where it was super slow, and it was mainly you had to rely on the extra hits it does. The extra hits are really nice, and they can make a big difference, but they're not something that are like super great to rely on, because if you shoot at the claw and it misses its initial attack, and then it goes around for the extra 3 swipes, you don't know when it's going to land, if it does on those, or even if it does on those extra 3, so it's kind of hard to be in a position to really capitalize on it. But it still does help. And another thing about coordinating with the claw is that when you stun someone, the stun lasts for a good amount of time, but it doesn't last long enough for you to stun someone and then call it out and get your teammate on top of them before the stun's over. You kind of have to go into a fight that your teammate's taking, like an extra melee that's fighting somebody, and then stun them in front of them when they're attacking. And that is the best time to do it. That's the best way to make sure that they are going to be there and do as much damage as they can to the stun target.
So, closing out the end of this map here, obviously we have the cart push all the way up the hill. From the two of you, do you generally tend to position kind of really far away and high in the skyblock so you have a nice clean sight line down this whole path? Or do you try and get in on the action a little bit more and make use of your claw for the most part?
There are two spots that I usually tend to play on. One is the portion that I'm standing on right now, because on this one you can pretty much cover the entire stretch, and you can also help with this C point capture. The only problem with it is you are omega exposed to any flyers and any Stellaris or people who would normally just be able to kill you. So I don't get to sit here often. The other time places, the one other place that I play over here is literally smack dab in the middle between these two spots right here. Mostly because these will break lock-on, the two things in front and the two things behind. So the only two angles I have to worry about for defenses are to my left and to my right. And usually, in this case, the blue payload will be over here to my right where my friendlies are, my teammates. So I don't have to worry about any direction other than the left of somebody coming in and trying to kill me. So I will usually play around these positions right here and just run circles around them on the ground.
Yeah, and I think, Happy, you play Aquila a little bit differently than Renegade, in my opinion. You tend to play a little bit further back, I think, usually. Rather, Renegade, I find, tends to barrel stuff his rifle down your face a little more.
I try to get the most damage I can, so I don't like using the close range shot if I can avoid it. I mean, you kind of have to sometimes, but I also don't like aiming the scope shot very close. It just feels awkward to me. I prefer playing a little bit further.
Yeah, so
I mean, that spot works, but it's not something I would see myself using very often. I just don't like being on the ground.
My playstyle is very different. I'm hyper aggressive, overly to a fault. Like, so I will die most of the times, and it will be my fault.
Yeah, and of course everyone's going to have different play styles. It's not to say one is 100% right, obviously, but it's definitely telling from me as a healer, because I've played with Happy extensively. Renegade, you and I have been queuing up on occasion lately, and I can definitely feel the difference of when I'm looking for Renegade to heal, he's pretty much right next to me all the time, and that's where he's living a lot of the time. And you know, I definitely see benefits and detriments to it. Of sometimes, you know, he'll get caught out, or he'll be a little bit easier for Stellaris to get onto, or also might not have as much damage as Happy might in a situation, or on a map. But I think that there's a lot of value to both play styles, and combining the two is obviously valuable as well, right? Okay. So we have about 15 minutes left. I kind of want to briefly, without and maybe we go into either Misra or Vigil Imbrium. What are you guys' thoughts on I Misra and the New Moon map, by the way?
Everybody that I play with hates Eye of Misra. They all call it Eye of Misery. I don't mind it. Just because with my playstyle, I'm very close to the ground and I can play on terrain very well. So I get to pull off like really fun maneuvers trying to avoid people who are trying to kill me all the time. And it's very adrenaline pumping. So I enjoy it.
Yeah, the Misra has all those there's a bunch of rocks. There's like the tubes on the ground that you can go through. There's the canyons with the correct crystals. There's a lot of different ways to avoid, and evade people that are chasing after you. And also, it's just a good map for the outside. I mean, you have aerial cover of everything outside, pretty much. It's kind of hard for anyone to avoid you. It becomes hectic inside, but as long as inside, it's close enough that nobody's avoiding your claw at all.
Oh
as
yeah,
long as you can like
point
hit
A
them
is a
with it.
nightmare. It's a clusterfuck. You're just gonna have to learn to be able to hit while also moving at Mach 9.
Yeah. And then the storm that rolls in is also not that bad. You're not really going to be able to get kills during that, but you can just sit on the point or sit in the air and shoot anybody that tries to get to the point. Because I mean, it doesn't really matter. As long as someone tries to cap, you can just watch and manual aim them.
Yeah, if the enemy team doesn't have an Aquila, during the storm is like the only time where you can just safely hover in the air without getting punished.
Yeah. Another thing is if they're capping on B point, you can sit kind of inside the doorway of A point, and you'll still be able to see people because you're technically outside the storm.
Yeah, we can showcase that cubbyhole.
Yeah.
So you can multi-lock the entire anyone as long as they're on C because they're pretty much too far away for you to do that.
Yeah, we'll get in here and show that quickly. Another question that we had was about duo queuing, right? And then strikers that you synergize with. If there was any one striker that you had a duo queue with right now to kind of climb up the ladder, who would it be?
Lumi.
Lumi, yeah. I'd say Lumi or Welkin.
Lumi and Welkin are going to be the two best ones. If you do a queue with the Welkin, you're going to die. It's only a matter of
Yeah,
time.
it's going to be pretty brutal. It'll be hard to survive, but it also, you get the benefit of that. You can kind of coordinate with the Welkin, maybe use their box for protection every once in a while. But what's great about the Welkin queue is, I mean, you have a good Welkin, like someone that you know is good on Welkin on your team, it's just going to make your games better. That's just how Welkin is right now. And B, if you can coordinate with a Welkin, like Aquila plus Welkin is just kind of unbeatable. If Welkin like really traps someone out or gets them in the box, then you can just obliterate them.
Multi-lock and win.
Yeah, solo multi-lock, they die. And then if you claw, the Welkin can just free on top of them and put them in the box. Like, whoever CC's first, the other person can just continue the chain and pretty much insta-kill that person.
Basically, it depends on what you want your role to be. If you want to basically play a more like supporty role, utility role, queue with a Welkin, and then just coordinate around making him be the best Welkin that he can be. If you want a hard carry, get a Lumine and then blackmail them into only healing you and not the rest of your team.
Yeah, and I think there's kind of a good point to be made there. Also, talking about a friendly Welkin. Can you talk about briefly how the sniper shot interacts with different abilities? So things like Welkin box, both for friendly, you have your Hurricane Shield, you have your Stego Smoke, things like that, and how that affects your shots as well.
The only thing that is really, really hard for Aquilas right now is kind of Stego Smoke. A good Stego who can rotate their smoke pretty much invalidates the entirety of your multi-lock. Mostly because you no longer can target anybody who's inside of it. The only reason that you would ever pop multi-lock when a Stego is smoking is to basically just get faster recharges, and you can manual aim onto the Stego itself because its outline is in the smoke. And then you can just try and burst down the Stego because the smoke won't regen its health. It's just fluid armor.
It's really not hard to kill a Stego and their smoke, or like not to kill. I mean, but just to hit them. You can see them very easy, and they're big targets. And they usually just sit in their smoke. They don't move around that much. Yeah. Of course, they'll have the fluid armor, so you're not doing an insane amount of damage to them, but you're still hitting them. If there's no better target, it's not really that bad of a choice.
Yeah, and just to make a quick commentary on the Lumi side of things, having a Stego on your team as a Lumi when there's an enemy Aquila hunting you can be very helpful because you can hide behind Stego's shield, you can hide, kind of dash in and out of the smoke. So that is one of the tools that a Lumi can use to try to stay alive versus Aquila. Obviously nothing's perfect, but that is, I think, one of the better tools out there to help you out.
Yeah, I mean, just being near your teammate, if you're getting multi-locked on Lumi, is helpful, so that the shots go to the other teammate as well, and then you're taking less damage yourself, because if you're shooting multiple targets with multi-lock, it means that there's going to be more time, like, per shot, because each round of bursts takes longer. So the DPS per target actually goes down.
Yeah. Alright, so while we're here on this map now, why don't we talk about map specific positioning. Obviously, we'll have a storm rolling in a second here, so we can show off how that interaction with the A point and stuff works. But outside of that, say no sandstorm is coming in. How are you generally positioning? What are your priorities?
I like to play kind of up in the air over here between B and A point, because there's these pipes that you can loop through a lot. You can kind of keep moving around with your ground slam and then dash through the pipe and then activate mobility kit to jump back up through it. I feel like that's always worked for me for evading a lot of targets. And then there's also this Corate Ravine over here, which has a couple crystals that can help shake some people off of you and give you like a small chance to regen energy.
Yeah,
It only regens your base energy, of course. Corate doesn't help you.
I'm standing right now is basically my favorite spot for holding B, mostly because if I ever get punished and pushed for this, I can just fall back like this and drop into the ravine and go straight to the crystals to get regen. Yeah. And I can easily keep shooting through the walls here to stop people from capping B. And then if there's a well pin that's trying to push, I can get the box broken like so.
Yeah, there's also the big ravine over by C, which is super nice. Like, I go there a lot. I think all the ravines, all the places with the Corate crystals are useful. Getting your energy up, because your energy is what you need on Aquila. Honestly, that's like your main survival tool, is just having energy to run away. Being able to know where a good place to regen energy is, it makes a big difference.
Yeah. Yes, MDB, you would have capped because you were watching me the entire time. In this situation, you will not notice I'm coming after you.
Renegade, do you want to show quickly the ravine by C? Because I think the ravine by C is, obviously a bit larger than the one by B, and I think it's very useful for a lot of different people.
This ravine is filled with blue Corate crystals. This is your home as Aquila, because everyone and their mother will be trying to kill you, and every single one of these crystals will break lock on immediately the moment you run into them. So all you have to do to break pursuers is run into them, you'll break lock on, it regens your fluid armor, it regens your energy pretty much to full instantly, which means you can then uppy downy and then get out of dodge while they're still trying to target.
Why don't we head into A, though, and show off how you deal with that kind of cramped space, too. All right. And the new moon map also is kind of similar, right? It has a similar indoor section. Not quite the same as far as how those canyons are situated, but the moon map also has that to an extent. Little bit, I think, less so, but it's still there. It's still relevant.
There's not really a tried and true strategy in the inside.
Yeah, this is chaos.
It's pretty chaotic. That said, I generally like to sit on the sides. Either side of the point is close to doorways that you can use to kind of loop around people, especially where Renegade is right over here. There's a tunnel up that way. Yeah, that place is great. Tunnel outwards, there's this wall to loop around that you can go straight to this door over here that loops over to the other side. And because you're further away from the point, you have more range to zoom in and multi-lock.
What C7 won't tell you is that Aquila has a passive that when you're in an enclosed space, you have 60% aggro gain on all melee that are on the team. So the moment you're in this room, they are going to be instantly looking for you to get a free kill because you cannot get away from them. So what I like to do is basically announce my presence here by shooting whoever's trying to cap on the point. They'll usually announce to their teammates where I am. The moment I hear the lock-on noise of a melee trying to go for me, I will pop mobility boosters, and I will either boost in front of them to stop them from diving me, or I will boost into the back, into the tunnel here, and if they follow me through, you can easily get a free scope shot in while they try to dive you, land a claw, and then get another 1 or 2 shots back in, and then just run away.
Yeah, Magical, while we have you here, do you want to try showing off getting on Renegade here? So Renegade, say I'm on point here. The Stellaris is around hunting. You start sniping me if you want to go ahead. And then, Magical, whenever you're ready, you start hunting him.
So I've been FCS, I can't. The other thing is that if you're scoped, the tether from the Stellaris will also knock you out of scope and make you unable to aim.
But it's very easy to see.
The inside is also chaotic for the melees too, which is kind of nice. It sucks for you, but it kind of sucks for everybody.
Yeah.
So the thing about it is you want to be boosting just to basically survive as long as possible. When you notice your energy starts to go down, there are a couple spots in here that you can land to get it back super fast. This Corite is very popular. It regens, it prevents lock-ons for about half a second, so you can get your energy back and start boosting again. You want to play around like circling these pillars in particular to break lock-on. It's very annoying for melee, while also being able to basically just aim on the point like this and fire on the person who's trying to cap it.
Oh,
So
yeah,
really
sandstorm's
quickly,
here.
the sandstorm got up. Let me go over to B and you can demonstrate that kind of tech there.
So you'll notice when the source sandstorm is active, you have no ability to lock on, and you will have to manually aim. See, you can
Yeah.
barely see Charlotte over there. You can
It
aim.
even just
still
shows
get
your
hit.
claw being down. It's insane.
Yeah, you won't even be able to target anything. But if you want, you can stand right here and you can shoot and break this rock.
Yeah, just get rid of the rock.
And you have full vision over B, and lock-ons are still allowed, and you
Yeah.
can even multi-lock and start firing onto the point like so. Just to get basically free damage and harassment. And it's particularly good during the storm, because if the enemy team has a healer, they will more than likely not be able to land any heals during this time. So your pressure is pretty much doubled just by sitting here and firing into B.
Yeah, you can also shoot some claws, and because the claw, shoots itself out anyways. Even if you have a bad angle and the first one misses, they're still getting harassed by it. It's just you can kind of use your entire kit. It's great.
Yeah.
It doesn't work for C though. C is too far away.
And obviously the moon map has something similar, right?
The door on the moon map is worse because there's a kind of a platform from the door.
Where you are exposed.
Yeah, the door is not as good on the moon map. You can still kind of get the same thing done, but it's way better on Missouri.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Is there any last thoughts you guys have on this map before we head out of here?
Don't go to the rocket. The rocket is a trap.
Yeah, the rocket. I've never gone to the rocket and felt good about it. You're out in the open. There's no ravines. There's no corite. You can maybe make it to the seaside ravine, but it's pretty much just you loop around the rocket and die. It feels pretty bad.
This used to be my go-to at the start of a match. I would land like right here, happy, and I would wait for my team to say they're engaging. I would pop this, do the uppy downy, and immediately start scoping out on anybody who is exposed. But people learned that I started doing that, and then fucking Welkin started waiting for me at the bottom of the rocket, and then they would zoom up and box me, and I would die, and I would have a horrible time.
Yeah, the rocket's too far from anything that can really save you. It's not great. It's good for Narius. That's about it.
Yeah, and I'm sure Zephyr will have a lot of thoughts about it when we get into his class. Of course, Zephyr also likes to kind of play over above the A point. Do you guys ever play up over here? Kind of on these rocks?
No,
in the core right
I
here?
don't.
No.
I mean, Naru does. Every Naru I've seen plays here, but that's because Naru kind of has to pick the high ground because they can't fly. Losers.
You can't really play with uppy downy if you start over here, like up on the core, right? Because there's so many levels that you have to go down to.
Yeah.
And your quick drop is just too good of an ability to break lock on and people chasing you. What you want to do is create maximum distance from your height, so that way when you go down and they follow you, you can immediately go back up and they can't chase.
Yeah, something that avoids you from doing uppy downy makes Aquila a lot worse. That's like your main way to avoid anything really.
I like how we've established that the tech is called uppy downy.
You go uppy and you go downy. What do you want me to call it?
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. All right, so let's kind of leave the things out there. We'll talk briefly just out of game here about the remaining maps. Obviously, we have the two TDM maps, right? In Sky City and the new one, Babylon Sky Fortress. What are you guys' thoughts on those maps right now?
The new map is great. Honestly,
Yes.
I like it a lot. It has a lot of verticality, a lot of height. It has a lot of open space. It's kind of great for Aquila. It's a lot better than the previous one. The previous one isn't bad. Graceland Sky City has some nice stuff.
They're still probably your best maps. If as an Aquila,
Yeah.
if you don't shine on TDM, then you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, those maps are meant for Aquila. It's pretty perfect. You're just kind of great there. There is some nice stuff you can do on Graceland. You can fly outside of the map briefly. That actually usually gets a lot of people off of me. When you like kind of fly behind the pillars, you can't stay there forever, of course, because you're outside the map and you're gonna die. But it's pretty awesome. there's also a lot of platforms and verticality stuff you can like kind of keep looping people throughout into the buildings. It's not as good as Babylon. You don't have as much sight lines, and it's harder to get kills. But I think it's probably easier to survive on that map.
Yeah. So to make a quick comment here, Babylon Sky Fortress. I think Sky Fortress is actually a little bit more dangerous for Aquila these days than Sky
Yep.
City. Um, Renegade, we recently had a match against you that I think you had 6 deaths or so, or more than that. Was it? Obviously, the Stellaris is on you, and we kind of talked about how punishing that is. But how do you feel about the new map, Babylon Sky Fortress, kind of with Stellaris in the game? Oh no, Renegade.
Oh, am I not talking? I'm so sorry. I was pressing the wrong
That,
button.
yeah,
Babylon Skyfortress is still a very great map. Even when I'm getting dogpiled like that one game where you sent all 4 pit bulls of yours after me, plus the fucking Chihuahua Falcon, uh, I was still being able to put out damage and get like 4 of my team's kills.
yeah, yeah.
It just
I
what happened that I was getting dogpiled. So basically, the moment one melee landed on me, 3 more showed up, and then a Falcon breakdanced on my corpse.
and I definitely
Yeah,
agree with that. I think just because you might have a lot of like deaths in those situations, that doesn't necessarily mean you have no value.
Aquila
And
often gets some of the highest aggro on the team,
yeah,
and it's usually in most matches it's pretty much a guarantee that you're going to be dying. What really matters and makes sure that you're actually like what shows that you're good at the character is how much you can get done with all this harassment going on, which is just an inevitability.
yeah. And I think there's something to be said too about the value in dying, respawning, and a lot of times that respawn will stick you right above your enemies.
Yeah,
And of course you have all your cooldowns back up. You can just hit multi-lock, look at the Lumi, and try and kill them whenever you're off cooldown too. So there's a certain amount of value that you get from that automatically, and it's a nice little uh, bit of recompense for getting killed, to
yeah.
say the
Aquila's very
least.
cooldown based, just because of how long the multi-lock is and the way that your mobility kit just takes forever to come back if you spend it all. So when you come back with all three, like everything back, all your ammo, all 3 cooldowns, you can kind of just kill whoever you want.
Especially to the last set of maps we haven't talked about yet are Cape Blanc Observatory and Stella Observatory, right? Of these very large, wide open maps with not a lot of hiding spaces for people playing on the ground. And I really find Aquila to be extremely punishing to other strikers on that map. What are you guys' thoughts on those two?
So yeah, Cape Blanc sucks. Stellar Observatory sucks. They are also your best map.
Yeah,
Uh, the problem that you are going to mostly find is that the moment the enemy team has an Aquila and you are playing Aquila, you no longer get to play the same game as everybody else. The game now becomes basically rotating multi-locks on the enemy Aquila. So whoever wins the first engagement gets to play the game for about 30 seconds, and then they get multi-locked and die, and then that Aquila gets to play the game for about 30 seconds, and then it's rinse repeat pretty much for the entirety of the rest of the map.
yeah. Aquila versus Aquila is a horrible cooldown just based game. It's not anything. If you have your mobility kit up to dodge their shots, then it makes it a lot easier. And if you have your multi-lock, then you win. It just sucks. I try to avoid it if I can, but you can't always.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
Um,
other issue is if you do not have an enemy Aquila on the other team, they are more than likely going to have at least one flyer, which is going to be like a Falcon or a
yeah,
Sky Raider.
flyers are super popular on both the observatories. That's going to be a pain in your ass.
You're
Also,
not going to be able to escape them.
yeah, you can't really escape on that map. There's not a lot of places to hide. There's a couple core holes, but it's not good enough. And
You
then,
can't go into the holes anymore because now their melees coordinate with them and they follow you in and kill you.
yeah, what he said first was also really true. Is that it's a great map for you. You have a lot of sight lines. You can just lay down on the point from any position, just destroy everybody. But also, every map that is good for Aquila is coincidentally terrible for him. because you're just out in the open. You're blasted by all their flyers, all their melees. You kind of just have to deal with what you're given.
Yeah, and to talk as a Lumi main, I'll talk about those maps on the Lumi class, but especially against enemy Lumis, I think this map is extremely punishing for them and extremely good for an Aquila. It is so hard to get to safety as a Luminate player here, and really makes them pretty free sometimes with the multi-lock. Obviously, there are some spots to hide and work around, but there's not many. And
It's a little bit better on the new map, the new version. On Cape Blanc, Lumis are free kills. Do it every single cooldown.
Yeah, both observatories are the best maps for killing Lumis. They just can't escape.
Yeah. So, all right. That's kind of our discussion on the maps. We have a few last questions here from a few people before we close out. One of the things we had is about shooting through walls. How often do you position to shoot through walls? You know, how much value do you put into that? Or is it really kind of how we talked about before on holding those points and such?
It used to be a lot better. You used to do a lot more damage push through on walls, so you could basically just save yourself like time and pain and just wail on people through walls and still put out like comparable damage. Now I'm pretty sure it's like 60% damage reduction through a wall.
It's a waste of ammo.
Yeah, it's a waste of ammo. The only time you really want to do it is if you want to stop them from capping an objective.
Yeah, I used to shoot through walls all the time, but a big thing about Aquila is that you regain ammo slower than you fire it. I mean, that's true for most characters. But if you're shooting through a wall, I mean, you pretty much have a good opportunity to just shoot all your ammo through, but you're gonna waste it all. It's not. You have to make the most of the shots you have, and shooting them through a wall is just doing nothing. You're just throwing your ammo away.
Yeah, I used to literally hide under the carts on Palm Bay Armor and just shoot the Tricera through the cart below him.
Yeah, that doesn't work anymore. Palm Bay had a lot of good buildings that you could just shoot people through and kill them, but it's not worth it.
I'm sorry. I'm trying not to laugh here. As Magical has posted a pretty good meme in the chat about Aquila Observatory. I definitely sympathize with that. Another question we had come in here is about dealing with flyers and 1v1ing them. If you have kind of this Falcon or a Skyraider coming onto you, I know you kind of mentioned before about ignoring them a good bit, but do you have any other thoughts on how you deal with that? Do you kind of snipe them out? What's your response if you have a Falcon just dogging you the whole time?
You want to go first?
It depends on kind of the situation you're in, what team you have, what game mode you have. There's a few different responses. It's pretty much pointless to just try to like manual aim, shoot them out of the sky. I mean, if they're low, you can kind of go for that like, ego shot and kill them, but it's pretty inconsistent unless you're like an absolute god. One thing you can do is fly over them. If you fly, since you have a lot of mobility and a lot of aerial, if you fly over a Falcon or a Skyraider, they're kind of forced to untransform, and you can get some few, like a shot in maybe a claw if they suck. But it's a little inconsistent and it takes forever. A lot of what I like to do, depending on the map, is trying to avoid them, just trying to get something else done, shoot other people, and run around. Like on Misra, that area with the pipes, I avoid a lot of Falcons there because they can't really go in deep. If they go in to where I am, they get clawed. So I kind of have to hide from them.
Over your head instantly invalidates enemy Falcons.
Yeah, having a roof over your head is amazing. Skyraider is a lot easier to kill. Skyraider can't really avoid you that much. But
right now, I used to tell people back in the last open beta when they were trying to say that Falcon counters Aquila is that it really doesn't, because unless it's Cape Blanc, you can just ignore them. You can like pretty much play around terrain. They have to commit more than 2 to 3 people to chase you down in order for Falcon to get value on you. If it's a 1v1 situation, you can just outkite the Falcon pretty much the entire time.
Yeah, if you don't have heals, the Falcon will probably eventually kill you. But it takes so long that you can get a good amount of value, and then you can just use all your cooldowns, get some value, and then come in with all your cooldowns back. I mean, it's not worth it to just throw your life away instantly, but avoiding them and then like ignoring them is actually a pretty viable
Right
strategy.
now, Falcon is even in a worse spot than it was in the open beta, so they're not really an issue anymore.
Yeah.
Sky Raider, on the other hand, is a massive annoyance,
Yeah.
mostly because of its ability to basically block all of your energy damage shots. If you have like a prime enemy team lined up for like 2 to 3 extra multi-locks to get a massive amount of damage out, Sky Raider with a laughing emoji skin pattern all over his fucking mech will just zoom by, fart out a bunch of like blue energy bubbles, and then all of a sudden your shots are just all blocked and you do 0 damage.
Yeah, Skyder can't fly up to you and bubble you to disable your lock on. I don't think that's super effective as someone who plays Sky Raider. I mean, you can hit them with like a bubble and disable their lock on for a little bit, but they have enough mobility to get out of it. Mainly what you'll see Sky Raiders do is just put it on their own team, and then the Aquila can't do anything about it. They're just shooting into a wall, and it's just a waste of the time.
Now they are easier to manually aim and shoot, and you can even get lock-ons on them if they forget to shift even once. That also means that you can send a claw after their ass, and if you land a claw on them, you can get 2 scope shots in before they react, which does a massive amount of their HP pool.
One last question before we have some closing thoughts on Aquila's place in the meta here. Something we talked a little bit about was making use of the claw and the positioning. When you're playing high in the air and you're going to already getting good angles, you're blasting, you're not getting really harassed, and you're getting that free damage out. Is there ever a time where you say, all right, let me go into close here, make sure I get a claw in? When are the times that you're purposely getting close, even if you don't need like necessarily the cover for it?
So the technique you're talking about is affectionately referred to as the shoulder check claw maneuver that Aquila's needed to learn how to play in the last open beta test because your
Oh
claw
my god,
aim
yeah.
was awful.
It was
The
so bad.
only way to guarantee that you clawed your target was to basically slam your ass on the ground, pop mobility boosters, and then face check them and then pop 1. That way that your claw had minimal travel distance and instantly locked onto them and clawed them. You don't really have to do that anymore with the new claw. It's still good to do if you're playing on the ground like in hyper aggressive like I do, just zooming around because you're trying to keep the fucking melee from dogpiling you. Mostly because you can just press shift and W once and then you're right in the Welkin's face and they'll get clawed and then everybody in your team collapses on them. But claw travel time is actually really like a lot faster now. So you can sit in the air, you can hover over them, lock on, and you can just send the claw after them, and you'll more than likely hit them.
Yeah, the chance of a claw hitting is based on like how close you are and the distance, or on how fast it is. It used to be slow, so you had to be way closer, but now that it's faster, you can be further away. You don't want to be like super far away, or it'll probably miss. But going in close is helpful if you want to just make sure to guarantee that you're hitting that person. Like going in close against a Welkin just to make sure you are absolutely going to stun them, get behind them, and shut it down isn't a bad idea. It's not super necessary anymore these days, though.
Yeah. All right, so why don't we close out the questions there? Before we leave here, I just want to have you guys ending thoughts on Aquila's place in the meta. Obviously, Renegade, you expressed at the beginning that it's a little bit overpowered. But what are your thoughts on it? Where do you think it fits in? Do you think it fits into every single team comp these days and on every single map, or do you think there's room there for it to kind of be
There
changed with something else?
is one team comp currently in a high level team play that you don't really need an Aquila on, but besides that one team comp, Aquila is mandatory for the one fact that Welkin is also super overpowered, and Aquila is pretty much the only super hard counter to Welkin.
Yeah, if they nerfed Welkin, it wouldn't be as big of a deal. I think Aquila's always, because Aquila functions like an ADC, it's always going to be kind of weird to balance because it's a character that is super easy to get a lot of damage out on, can make a really big difference in the game, but it's also one of the easiest characters to shut down. So it's like, you could argue that Aquila needs a nerf because of how much damage they do, but that's like the point. They do a lot of damage because they're easy to just dogpile and kill. But I do think that they are a little maybe overtuned right now. The claw is in a great state, and the fact that it shuts down Welkin and is the only thing that shuts down Welkin it really just makes it that it's like you have to pick the counter to the thing that's picked in every game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think something we kind of alluded to here, but not explicitly kind of set out right, is Aquila is one of the highest damage dealers right now, by far, right? Especially with some of the other changes, you don't see many other strikers doing as consistently high of damage, right?
There are some situations like Inferno does a lot of damage. Hurricane, when not dogpiled by melee, which is basically never because the meta right now is just super heavily melee favored, can do a lot of damage to the ultra heavies, and they can just farm damage numbers that way. Aquila is the only one that I would say that is consistent damage across all the weight class types. Mostly because you have pretty much an answer to almost everything, except for being ganged up on. Uh, I like to tell people the HP buff did nothing to Aquila because basically your entire defensive kit is how fast you can move. The
Oh yeah, it
moment you
kills a dodge tank.
yeah, the moment you stand still for more than a second, you're dead. When you run out of energy, you're dead. Like the moment people see you standing on the ground and notice that you're doing the awkward bunny hop, they will collapse on you and you will just die.
Yeah, Aquila, like double energy meter micromanagement is the only way you survive. It's like it's all you have to stay alive.
Yeah. Great. I think that's everything for today. Obviously, there's probably a lot more we could talk about as far as specific team comps and all that, but I think this is a kind of good lesson on getting those basics down, getting some of these more advanced tactics and positioning, and really improving the game there. Before we close out, any last thoughts from you guys?
Um, One thing that I always feel like every Aquila player should know is, um, Aquila is a character that is really easy to do damage on. You have auto lock on, you have auto multi lock on, you have stuns. Anybody can pick up Aquila and do a bunch of damage. That's not the hard part. But what really you have to focus on being good at Aquila is dealing damage under pressure and avoiding all the people that are on top of you and positioning properly and managing your energy. Like that's what really matters is how well you stay alive to do the damage.
Yeah.
Because then anybody can do that damage easily.
Uh, yeah, that's pretty much exactly what I would have said too. Key skills for if you want to be a good Aquila, if you have good map awareness and you have good game sense, Aquila is basically the striker for you. You don't have to have good aim. You don't have to have good micro. You just have to get good map awareness and good game sense, and then you can pretty much style on anybody.
Yep.
Perfect. So thank you both for coming.
Also just learning how to avoid melees.
Yeah.
Every melee has a different way to avoid besides Stellaris, which you don't avoid.
Just accept the fact that you're going to die and your life will be much easier.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, against everyone else is easy. Like Panther, you dodge the lance. I mean, it's coming at you in a straight line. That's not difficult. Elysinus is just like a little punk. You just uppy downy that fool.
Yeah.
Welcome, similar deal. You just don't get close to him.
So why don't we close out there again? Thank you both for coming on. I think if anyone has any follow-up questions, they could ping you in the Discord. For the most part, we have an Aquila thread going. They can ask questions there. I'm sure you guys will answer when you can. I know Renegade, you were talking to someone earlier today about a couple questions they had. So definitely let them know. Keep an eye out for them. I know Happy will be playing in the league here with us. Renegade still figuring out what he's doing. But definitely thank you guys for coming.
Yeah. I'm probably going to go lose 200 more LP, so have fun.
Perfect. All right.
Yay.
Bye, everyone. Thank you for coming.